Hello, hello, hello. Welcome everybody to Boss Talk with Boss Hogg. I am your host, Boss Hogg. You also may know me from the Petty Crew Radio Show. Um, Boss Hogg with Boss Hogg is a weekly Wednesday night show where I get the opportunity to speak on some things that more than likely will not make it to our main show, which is the Petty Crew Radio Show, in which we host on Sunday afternoons. Again, want to welcome everybody to Boss Talk with Boss Howard. Today, I have with me a former guest of the Petty Crew Radio Show. This brother goes by the name of Daniel Sales III, who is the host of a podcast show called Keto 911. What's good?
What's going on, bro, man? Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on here again. I appreciate the invite, man, to come back and talk with the folks. As he just said, yeah, my name is Daniel. I'm the host of the Keto 911 podcast, which you can find pretty much anywhere that your device can stream it from. A little bit about myself, if I can, real quick. My podcast has been going on for about a year. May will be my 1 year mark. I just had a solid interview with the CEO of Icon Foods, Mr. Tom King. Had a great talk about his products, his goals, his book that he wrote that he gave to me, and some of the products that he sent to me recently, man. So, hey, man, I'm growing, still moving, still thriving, man, and I'm glad to be back on here, bro. Appreciate it.
Okay. Again, for everybody that's tuning in, this is our new weekly show, Boss Talk with Boss Hogg. Today's topic is going to be talking about the lack of diversity that we see in the NFL. For you guys don't know, I'm a former football player, advocate, fan of football, and just this past Sunday, the Super Bowl was played. For you guys that were watching, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers went on to win the Super Bowl with a diverse group of coaches. And also, we're going to talk about the myth behind the COVID-19 vaccine. You know, we as African Americans, I see it all the time. I see it on social media. There's a lack of trust in the medical field because for a lot of people, they feel that the vaccine was, pushed out too fast, and how we as African Americans have been treated over time in the medical system. And so, that's why I have my frat brother, also, podcaster, who wanted to join me in this conversation because he has some special insight, being that he too has had COVID. He has also taken the vaccine. So he's going to be talking from a place of experience from the medical field as well as somebody who has taken the vaccine. So with that being said, again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Please do me a favor. Please share this live. If you have any thoughts, please weigh in. We are looking at the comments, so if you're more than welcome to, again, speak freely about it. Again, we're going to be talking about the lack of diversity that we see in the NFL and why, with the NFL being, 90% black athletes, we do not have the same representation on the head coaching side of everything. And so we're going to discuss that. So with that being said, let's jump right into it. Again, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just won the Super Bowl. One brother in particular stand out by the name of Eric B. Enemy. He is the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, under his leadership, his guidance, Tom Brady in his first year with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers has went on to win the NFL Super Bowl. And for a lot of people, every year we've had open coaching positions, because if you lose in the NFL, there's going to be an NFL team that fire coaches. Then, of course, everything is open for interviews. They have something in the NFL called the Roney Rule, which they have to put in place because they have to interview minorities. Otherwise it would be just nothing but white owners hiring white coaches. There was a tweet in which I'm going to share my screen for you guys that are watching. Again, please share this live, and I want you to weigh in on it. I'm going to share my screen, and there was a tweet with a picture that was shared, and a lot of people on social media, they actually shared this picture. However, I felt some type of way about it, and we're going to discuss that. So let me share my screen for you guys that are watching, so you all can see exactly what I'm talking about. For you guys who are looking at my screen right now, you see a picture of the head coach to my left. I don't know his name. Again, I'm not a Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but that's actually irrelevant. But you also see now all of his coordinators. You have the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator. You see he have women on his staff. But Ryan Clark, and this is a real tweet. I had to go to Twitter because I'm also on Twitter. I had to go to Twitter and verify this tweet. And his tweet says, "Thank you, Bruce Arians, for showing the world that all three of your coordinators can be black. Your assistant head coach can be black. You can have 2 full-time women coaches and be the best team in the world. BA, you're a trailblazer. Leadership doesn't have a look." Again, I went to Ryan Clark's tweet. I just want to verify it's real. With social media, you can create anything. But then I'm going to switch to another picture that I posted. This is from my social media page, my personal social media page, posted February the 8th, 1:08 p.m. And I'm going to go to another picture. This is from legendary coach Tony Dungy. And this is quoted from him. He says, "It hurt in 1993 to have coordinated the number one defense in the NFL and not get an interview for one of the 5 head coaching openings that year. It hurts even more to see African-American coaches going through the same thing almost 30 years later." Let me say that again. This is from legendary black coach Tony Dungy. He says, "It hurts in 1993 to have coordinated the number one defense in the NFL and not to get an interview for one of the 5 head coaches coaching openings that year. It hurts even more to see African-American coaches going through the same thing almost 30 years later." And so my question that I want to pose today for anybody that's watching and want to chime in is, why do we still have this lack of diversity in the NFL? Why is it that we have yet to move from being what I call backseat drivers to leading teams to Super Bowls? Now, again, somebody will say, because we do have minorities who are coaches. I want to make sure we're clear. However, we only have one black coach, and his name is Mike Tomlinson, who is the head coach of the Steelers. That's it. And then I'm going to turn it over to you. I just want to give my quick thoughts about it. I myself was not proud, and I even tweeted that gentleman to give him my thoughts about that tweet. Simply to me, it's just not enough to have all these moral victories.
Yeah.
It's not enough for me to applaud something that we already see year after year.
Yeah.
What are we applauding here as African Americans when we can strategize, but who's going to get the glory at the end of the day? Your head coach.
Yeah.
Who's going to get the big payday at the end of it? It's going to be the head coach.
Mm-hmm.
I understand it. He's in a, all these coaches are in a precarious predicament, because all they can do is just put together the best staff, whether it's black or white, woman, all men. And in this case, this is what this gentleman did. And I respect that. So my beef is not with him because he put together the best coaching team to get them to the Super Bowl and they won. I take tasks to the NFL and its owners because I said to myself this week, what if it was the reverse and majority of your head coaches were black? Will we not still have a Super Bowl champion? I mean, because they're going to play 16 games. They're going to play
Yeah.
wild card. They're going to play the conference championships. And then two teams are going to go to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Will we not still have a Super Bowl champion if two head coaches who happen to be black met each other in the Super Bowl? And Daniel, what are your thoughts on it? Again, you've already told me. I already know you're not a sports head. But like I told you, this is really not so much about sports other than us as people of color
Right.
getting in a position of leadership.
It's a business, beyond the sport, the passion of the sport, and the athletes. First and foremost, these franchises are businesses. Actions reflect leadership, as it was said in Remember the Titans. I believe that was a movie. Yeah, actions reflect leadership. Now, leadership ain't the coach. The coach is the face that people see first. The owners are the ones who pick the coach. And I guarantee you the owners ain't black.
Right.
So a lot of that is, regardless of the Roney Rule, from what I understand, the NFL has the league, and then you have the commissioners of the league, and then you have everybody that's up there who are all former coaches or probably former owners or whatever the case may be, which don't look like us. So they could say, yeah, the Roney Rule, but yeah, we can curtail that to be what we want. Okay, we had Tony Dungy, now we got one more. We got to be careful now, because once you start putting people in the areas of being coaches, of leadership, being the face of the team, not being, because the leaders are going to be the hidden people, but the coaches are the faces. Anything that's anything that the players do, whatever, bad, good, out in the public, and different, the coaches are going to be the faces. They're going to be holding the coaches responsible. So when you get a coach in there like the Pittsburgh Steelers coach, who I'm not a heavy sports head. When I get a chance to watch it, I watch it. When you see that coach right there for the Pittsburgh Steelers has the biggest amount of pressure on him, because the second that he looks unappealing to the owners, he knows he's on the chopping block faster than any other coach has been out there, and you can see that. And people don't bash me. The Dallas Cowboys had a horrible coach for the longest time, but they just let him sit there for the longest time, even though the team was doing horrible. And it took everybody just getting mad and just wanting to boycott the team in order for them to really, really make that change and for them to really just have a horrible season. But for him, he knows for a fact if he even just has half of a bad season, his job is on the line. No ands, ifs, or buts. And accountability for us matters, just as you said in the beginning. And I have a feeling that they're afraid that the more that come in, now you have more people who are going to have a seat at the table who, once they establish themselves historically as that coach, are going to go higher. They're going to go for the owner spots, and they don't want to share a room at the table when it comes to that. They're going to be old and rich, and then they're going to die off and pass it on to family members who don't care about it either. You see what I'm saying? And they realize that once we start to let one in, he starts to do good, and then another one pops up, and then another one pops up. But then now you're starting to see these coaches being more inclusive. Black assistant coaches, female coordinators, and I saw that there's a female defensive end coach, I believe, for another team.
Mm-hmm.
It's changing at the speed and to the depths that the owners and the league commissioners have no control over now. And they don't like it. So, the biggest thing that I can say that I just reiterate when it comes to that is accountability matters. They know for a fact that when we get to the position of where we're the faces of the teams, we're going to start making decisions that are going to be more socially accurate to the environments, socially accurate, ethnically accurate to our own people. to where we are going to be making those changes and making those those impacts outside of their control. And that's what I believe that they're afraid of. It's the same way with any other sport as well, because you see NASCAR starting to have more black drivers. You know, tennis, golf, everybody went crazy when Tiger Woods came in there and started winning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Venus and Serena went crazy when they started winning. And now there's hockey players and black hockey players and everything else. When we come into a field, they know for a fact we come in to dominate. You know, the NFL is 90%. You said 90% black.
Mm-hmm.
How many of those young men that come through there actually pursue coaching?
Mm.
You know, because it's not like some of the players in the NBA who wound up turning into coaches now. How many of those same players turn into coaches, turn into coordinators, defensive end coordinators? No, because once they're used up and damaged and broken, they're recycled. Give them a title and send them on their way. They don't give them anything else to shoot for because they tell them, okay, you're a player. That's it. You've reached the pinnacle of your athleticism, anything like that, and then they stop it. Let those same players have that same ambition to go do that, and then they get it, and they get in that area, you're going to see a huge change in the league. You're going to see a huge change in the league, but that's what they're afraid of, bringing more of our people or people of color or women into the fold to actually come for these positions that they're now taking for granted that they've been riding the coattails on for decades now.
Gotcha. So we don't get an opportunity to hear from these coaches because I've yet to see, for instance, like Eric B. Enemy, who is a former football player. Now, I will say this, because the spotlight is rarely on them during, like, for instance, the regular season until head coaching positions become available, because now it's like, okay, here comes the stories, you know, what are we going to do about, you know, we need to have more of these coaches who have more experience, because what happened is for a lot of coaches like this year, no African-American, coordinator, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, whatever they are, didn't get the head coaching job at none of the opening jobs. But some of these coaches who were hired have less experience in their position. Some of these coaches never were offensive coordinators. Some of these coaches were not assistant head coaches.
Right.
But we don't hear from these coaches. And so I don't like assuming. I just feel like, I ask myself, well, have they accepted the fact that this is the end of the road for them? Do we know they're comfortable with saying, you know what, I'm fine with being the offensive coordinator? I mean, I can't say it because I can't give my approval or disapproval. I can't let you know because I might end up losing my job.
Right.
But I'm comfortable with it, and these are questions, and you can, chime in, but again, these are questions that flow through my mind,
and that's exactly right. I'm pretty sure that any of those individuals who come into these positions and get these coordinator positions are not just saying, you know what, that's it. This is where I want to be, and I'm going to be done. No, they have aspirations and goals to go higher. But at the same time, they're picking these individuals that don't have this experience, that haven't done this, because they're not picking them for that. The owners are picking people who are going to be a face. Get them on the sideline. Get them showing, giving direction and all that. But that's not the people that are doing it. It's the assistant coach and every other person that's behind the scenes that help make the face look good. It's not. Think about the time that we're in, and I hate to kind of switch it. The former president put a whole bunch of people in positions who were not qualified to do these jobs. Why? Because they were the faces that he wanted there.
That's a good analogy.
to make them look good. Now, could they do the job? No, but they had people behind them running the stuff in the back to make the faces look good. And that's all this is. And the people who are the coordinators who are like, I want to go, I want to do this, I want to do this. But what happens when you start to tell people your dreams in other places? Everybody that's with you ain't for you. Those same people are like, hey man, look, he's trying to get up there. We need to tone him back down. We need to keep him here because if he really starts to go for it, we need to get rid of him. Those are the people that are on the inside that are the dream killers for those who have aspirations to be more. So they don't say anything because they don't want to lose, the position that they work so hard just to get to here. They don't want to jeopardize that in fear of losing it. But they're probably still working in the background. They're still working. They're probably still gaining. They're still doing this. They're networking. They're networking, waiting for the opportunity to come up, waiting for somebody to open up the door so that way they can run in. And they're probably still applying too. And you got one of those black coaches. They're like, hey, just keep at it. It's going to happen. Just keep at it. Just keep at it. Just keep at it. Don't leave. Because if you leave, it's going to be 10 to 20 times to 100 times harder to find your way back or to get somewhere else that's going to benefit you. These are high-class positions. For any one position, you got 500 people ready to go ahead and jump in and come get it. You think they're going to sit up there and jeopardize their spot? No.
Right.
But they're going to sit up there and try to find avenues and bide their time so that way they can try to get in there, get in where they can fit in. But you still, like I said before, the owners are picking faces, not experience, not talent. I'm serious. The coaches don't really pick the players. No way. They got a whole commission crew and everything else, and the coach is the one who sits in and gives his opinion on it. But the coach isn't the number one decider on who gets picked.
True.
He's primarily the face, and he's the focal point of on direction. So what do you want your face to do? Do you want your face to act the part if you're trying to project something to somebody, or do you want your face to resemble the demographic that's out there to mean something not to you, but to other people? Colin Kaepernick spoke out about this, and when he started doing this, guess what? He got ostracized. Why? Because he started bringing relevance to the situations at hand. It was more than just police. It was the disparaging issues everywhere. Why? That's why you had the whole infighting when it came to some players wanting to take a knee and some players not. Guess what? Coaches was like, we got to do something about, they're looking at the coaches now like, what's the face going to do? What's the face of the team going to do? Because he's got to think about what are the owners going to tell him and what can he get away with? Because now he has so much more response. When, like I said, this is changing. Ever since Kaepernick came in, and now all of a sudden these new faces, and now this inclusion, now all this diversity is here, now it's harder. Now they're going to have to look on the aspect of, okay, so now we're going to need to be on board with this, because if something like this happens again and we ain't got the right faces there, we're going to lose money, we're going to lose revenue, and that's the number one thing that these owners don't want to do.
So I got a question. Because you brought up something about faces. So is it safe to say that, because we know for a fact a lot of these coaches who got positions this year, who got head coaching positions this year, some of them do not have the same experience or less experience than these black coaches who have the good experience. Are owners, and we don't know because we don't know what's in their head, but are owners thinking about the bottom line and who they're actually catering to, which is the reason why they are not hiring black coaches? In other words, my real money, the real people that watch football who come to the games look like me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we get a couple of y'all to come.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all go watch us on TV, but the people that are spending money with me are white, and I do not want to lose them because I'm trying to You know,
You're trying to work and cater to what? Okay, let's break down the business structure of these top owners, and then the league commissioners and everything like that. It's a business aspect, right? These owners have stockholders who put money in based off of what they want to see. They in turn pick the faces which they feel is going to generate revenue for them, and then the coaches have players that look like us to bring in the people, the fans who look like us. So what do you see about these people, these coaches and everything like that don't have the experience? What do you start to see? Oh, this coach has really been mentoring to this one black player and this group of black players to help them really excel. This is how they build up clout, to show them trying to do the work that they have no experience doing. But then at the same time, we, the ones who know better, look at the background of it.
Mm-hmm.
We already know that you ain't got it. The people behind you got it. So once you get up there and you give the direction and everything, what do you see them do? They stand back and they watch. Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, this coordinator, assistant coach, y'all go out there and go do it. They're the ones who working.
Right.
He's the face. So they're conscious, like you said, they're conscious about the bottom line, but at the same time, if they show the face being inclusive to our people, but to their stars, which are our people,
mm-hmm.
that gives them justification to their fan base and to their supporters that what they're doing is right. They don't care as long as the money keeps coming in. And I'll use I have to keep using the Cowboys because we're in Texas, right? You know, these owners, you've seen it. I'm serious. You see how they just sit there and they watch it. The Dallas Cowboys. When was the last time the Cowboys won Super Bowl?
Ooh, 93.
93, and they were at what, 5 Super Bowls?
Yeah.
So out of all of that, how much improvement have you seen from the Cowboys?
Not much.
How many times have they changed the face of the coach?
Not at all. Well, my face. Well, they've been through head coaches, but color-wise, zero.
Yeah. So, how many black people? How much of their roster is black that are actual highlight stars?
Ooh, that's 100%.
So when we go about 100%, does it really matter how many championships, how many games that they win, or is it jersey sales, merchandise sales, video game notifications, and all this other stuff, fantasy football leagues that builds like microtransaction revenue, that nickels and dimes that turns into billions of dollars a year. And this team has not won anything since the 90s, but they're America's team. It's not about the bottom line, because if they can get money from black people on a losing record, by swapping out multiple faces, but it's the same one, but not actually contributing nothing. When you got the talent and you got the support there, they don't care. It's about money.
Mm-hmm.
It's about putting the right face there. Oh, well, this coaching, just put him there. He looks good. We'll make him look good. Yeah, he didn't have a good year, but let's show him the highlights with the players that he's worked with. Let's make him look good. Everybody behind is doing the work, but these guys make hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
Right. And for you guys that are tuning in, right now we're discussing the topic of the lack of diversity in the head coach position in the NFL. Again, if you're watching, you're more than welcome to chime in. I am watching live any comments that come through. I just want to know how you feel. Again, I shared a meme on my personal page, which, showed a gentleman from Twitter, applauding the head coach for hiring and having the most diversified coaching staff. And, for me, I'm just a little bit different than everybody else. I don't applaud what has always been the case. You've always hired black coaches. There's always been a diversity. What's new is that we're adding women into the picture. That's honestly, that's really about it. I showed the picture again. I'm gonna show my screen for you guys who didn't see it the first time. Um, this is the meme that is going around on social media, in which uh, we're discussing right now. For you guys who are just now tuning in, if you're just now watching at this point, let me go back to the first picture for you guys that are watching on the screen. This was a tweet, and the picture was added to it again, Photoshop or whatever. But this is a live tweet, and again, it says, "Thank you, Bruce Arians, for showing the world that all three of our coordinators can be black. Your assistant head coach can be black, and that's major. You can have two full-time women coaches and be the best team in the world. You're a trailblazer. Leadership doesn't what it says, leadership doesn't have a look." And so, but again, legendary, which I posted on my social media page, legendary coach didn't apply and does not applaud none of that. He's quoted as saying it hurts in 1993 to have coordinated the number one defense in the NFL and not get an interview for one of the 5 head coaching openings that year. It hurts even more to see African American coaches going through the same thing almost 30 years later.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not the only one who really does not applaud the fact that this gentleman put together this great coaching staff. You know, are you going to make your staff all white? You could.
Yeah.
But players relate to their own. Every player does not respond to certain coaches. And so, again, a lot of these coaches are put in a position to make sure they put together a staff that's going to get them to the Super Bowl, because for every NFL football player, that's where they want to go, to the Super Bowl. Are we making too much of it? Because, again, we don't see these coaches complaining, and I understand why. They probably don't want to lose their job. So, again, if you are tuning in, you're more than welcome to weigh in on that. Now, let's switch gears to the reason why we really wanted to have this conversation and this boss talk tonight, which is the misconceptions, the fears, the lack of information we have as African Americans when it comes to the vaccination. For you guys that don't know, and if you're living under a rock, we are in the middle of a pandemic.
Yep.
By now, as long as the pandemic been going and the rate in which the COVID-19 virus is spreading, you should know somebody personally who has contracted it.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if you do not know somebody. I can say I know of several people, the closest being my mother, who had contracted it. Thankfully, she, caught it on the tail end. I've said it before on a previous show, and thankfully we wasn't going over there like that. So she was able to do everything she needed to do, quarantine herself and get well. But we also know that we have lost, I believe, over 250,000 people now to the COVID-19 virus. We have the rollout of the vaccination, and we have fear in the Black community because of distrust, disinformation, a lack of information, and just straight ignorance. That's the 4 things that we're dealing with in the Black community. And so I'm going to turn it over to Daniel to speak to us, and then we're going to kind of flow with it as we go. He tell his story and how he feels about all of this.
Yeah, just like you were saying, he had family members who have caught it, close friends. I've had good close friends. We've had fraternal brothers who have contracted the virus. My family had contracted the virus. I lost my grandfather in December. He was buried in December, and my grandmother had perished from it earlier in January, and we laid her to rest a couple weeks ago. I myself contracted the virus right before Christmas, so I had to spend Christmas locked up in my room outside away from my family. It's a horrible experience. That was a very long quarantine period. Um, the effects that I had were mild. I thought I was had thought I just had strep throat. Had a couple of days when I was waking up and I was throat was on fire and I was spitting up blood
Mm.
and I was gargling. And when I started to gargle, my throat was on fire, and I was like, "This, yeah." As soon as it got to a concerning amount of blood, and I knew a little bit, and I was like, "Yeah," but it got concerning. So then I went to go get tested. They were like, "Yeah, we're just gonna test for COVID and strep." Okay. So Friday, I didn't go to work. That weekend, I waited. And then that Monday morning, I called them and they told me, "Yeah, you tested positive." I was like, "Okay, for strep." They're like, "No, for COVID." I was like, "Okay." Stuff just got real.
Mm-hmm.
Because the number one thing that you fear in being in the medical field, being exposed to dozens upon dozens of people daily, is bringing it home. And my fear was realized at that moment to where I had it, and now I brought it home. So the second that I found out, I stayed there. I texted my wife and I told her, and she just, you know, she was like, "Oh my gosh!" She says, "What about us? What about the kids?" I'm like, we'll just monitor and just make sure that you guys don't have any symptoms. If you have any symptoms, we'll adjust and go with it accordingly. I'm an EMT, so I'm very, very, very watchful over symptoms of my family. I stay up late at night checking my children's breathing, checking my wife's breathing, and this has been every night since they were, my kids were even smaller. But ever since the pandemic really really hit, I do that I stay up every night. I watch to see if they're sniffling, if they have fever. I'm very 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 watchful over it because I didn't want it to bring it home. And then when it happened, I was trying to make sure that they didn't have the life threatening situations. I really didn't focus on me. I was more worried about them. I had at least 2 to 3 days to where I was so weak I couldn't even move out the bed. I didn't eat much because I couldn't move. But fortunately, I was fortunate enough, and I can't express that enough. I was fortunate enough to recover from it and get back to my day to day. Now, I have had the first dose of the vaccine. My second dose will be this weekend. I got the Pfizer vaccine. I did my research on it. I work around doctors, so I asked them their medical opinion and everything. The doctor that I work really close with, he already got his taken care of. He previously had it himself, but he wanted to make sure that he was good to get it taken to get the virus taken care of because we're in the thick of it daily. Healthcare workers are in the thick of it daily. So you know, COVID is not a joke. It saddens me when I see videos of our people going to concerts, going to clubs without masks on, house parties, doing this stuff as if it's not there, as if they're invincible. People are still dying and dying quickly. Thousands of people still dying. Now, they said that the numbers have started to drop a little bit, but thousands of people are still dying daily. We're almost a half a million Americans that
Mm-hmm.
have died. I can add multiple names who I know to that number list. It could have been me
Yeah.
added to that list. And the vaccine, the vaccine, due to the previous administration, was put out as a to me was put out as a get out of jail free card. That was his token to reelection, I believe. If he would have had it out in the time period and it would have proven well, it would have saved him. He would have still been here. I believe that he believed that, and I honestly believe that if it would have came out the way he wanted it to, he'd still be there. But to the people, it came out during a period of fear and desperation. People were unsure of it, which is understandable because it's new. Black people have a fear of it because one, we all know about the Tuskegee experiment.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know, Google it. This is where the federal government had experimented on people, telling them that they were giving them vaccines, but they were giving them things like syphilis, injecting it into the poor, uneducated black populace of the community. The only reason why they stopped it is because they got caught. It wasn't because they realized that they were doing something wrong. No, because the public got wind of it and they got caught, so they had to stop it. So I can understand the fear of our people not being leery of it because of that, and two, because how it was promoted. The first person that got a shot was a black woman, a nurse, and the
Right.
person that administered it to her was a black doctor. And then the president came out saying, "Well, black people should trust it because a black woman had a hand in making it." So you got the man that's been against black people for a long time telling black people you should do it because I got black people out there in the front, i.e., the face of
Mm-hmm.
it being out there. So that way it can be presented and well received. Now, I recommend now the information that that I'm going to be disseminating and giving to you is not from my own opinion. Let's get that clear.
Mm-hmm.
It's not from my own opinion. This is from information that you yourself can Google. People are like, "What's in it?" I don't know what's in it. I'm not going to put it in my body because I don't know what's in it. I get that. But you take the flu shot every year and you don't know what's in it either.
Right.
Well, I heard that you can get COVID even if you do take it. Correct. You can also get the flu after taking the flu shot. If you're around a whole bunch of sick people, regardless on if you have the flu vaccine or not, you can still catch the flu. Just like if you're around this flu vaccine is not something that stops you from getting the virus. And I'll go into the science of it. I'm sorry, my daughter brought me some water. She heard my voice, and hey, you got good kids, so they look out for you like that.
Right. Already.
But you have. I'm gonna go into the science of breaking it down because you can Google it. The Pfizer coronavirus vaccine ingredients, and the information comes from the Food and Drug Administration website. You can look up the Pfizer and you can look up the Moderna ingredients. It also breaks down on those what is COVID-19, and I'll read it to you. COVID-19 is caused by a coronavirus called SARS-CoV-2. The type of coronavirus has not been seen before. You can get COVID-19 through direct contact with another person who has the virus. It is predominantly respiratory illness that can affect other organs. People with COVID have a wide range of symptoms reported, ranging from mild symptoms to severe illness. Symptoms may appear 2 to 14 days after exposure. Symptoms may include fever and chills, cough, shortness of breath, fatigue, muscle and body aches, headache, new loss of taste and or smell, sore throat, congestion or runny nose, nausea and vomiting, and or diarrhea. And since the weather's been 30 degrees one way and the other another day, everybody's got runny nose.
Right.
But the thing about it is, it affects everybody differently. I was fortunate enough to get mild symptoms. That's why they're encouraging people who are 65 and older and are high risk, to get the vaccine because your body's already in a compromising state. Diabetics are already on medication that regulates the hormones. Cancer patients have a suppressed immune system. Heart patients are cardiac patients, they have heart issues and everything else. They're taking medications that affect their bodies drastically. And this virus not just only attacks your lungs, but it also attacks other parts of your body. And the first time that I saw the effects of COVID, I was responding to a call in EMS, and when we get our calls, we get our notification, patient respiratory distress, PPE alert. When we know it's PPE alert, we know it's potentially COVID. The patient that we responded to, we hooked her up to the 12 lead, which is the heart EKG, kind of like an EKG, so you can see her heart rhythm, blood pressure cuff, pulse oximeter, so that way we can see her oxygenation. And the paramedic that I was working with checked her lungs while I was hooking everything up, and he says, "Hey man, come here, take a listen." I said, "To what?" He says, "Take a listen to her airway." Put the stethoscope on her chest, on her back, I said, I don't hear anything. He says, exactly. Her lungs are clear, but yet her pulse, her blood, her oxygenation in her blood was only at 76.
Mm.
Now, medically speaking, so that way one I can bring this full circle, your your oxygenation levels should be between 99, 100, and 95. Anything below 95 is an area of concern. She was at 76. So
Ooh.
she was in the danger area.
Uh-huh.
How the virus was affecting her, it was affecting her lungs to where the exchange of gas, carbon dioxide when you breathe out, switching with the good oxygen when you breathe in, was not happening. Carbon dioxide was building up in her body, and the good clean air was not getting in.
Wow.
So we had to put high flow oxygen on her with the non-rebreather with a little baggie on the bottom, and
Mm-hmm.
when we turned that sucker almost all the way up, and we could only get her to about 82. That was about as high as we can get her, and that's in the danger zone. He was like, "Let's go. This is about as good as we're gonna get." And by the time we got her there, we had to get her straight to the COVID wing, and it was like, man, what do you do in that situation? What do you think is going to happen? He says she's probably going to go on a ventilator today. I've been in the COVID wars. I've seen people on ventilators. I've seen them have to intubate people. I've had to take patients home who are dying from it. It's not something to play with.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. And the virus is there to give your body a level of protection for one, to not experience the extreme side effects of it. Now, can you catch the virus while getting the vaccines? Yes. Can you still transmit it? Yes. Will you have the severe effects of it? Through the testing from what's been going on, you're not going to, they've been saying that you're not having the serious reactions to it. You still may have the runny nose or congestion or whatever, but you're not going to have the life threat. You shouldn't be having the life, let me say that correctly. You shouldn't be having the life threatening effects of it. Now, before you decide to undertake any vaccination that's new, any injection that's new, any prescription medication that's new, you need to consult with your physician.
Hey, hold on, Daniel. So we have a comment that came in, and shout out to she's one of my former co-hosts. She just chimed in. She says, "It's not. I'm still struggling, honey. Can you elaborate more right now if you are just now tuning in? And please share this. We are now discussing uh, the COVID-19 vaccination and how we as African Americans, are again one of four things in my opinion. Either we're ignorant about it, um,
Yeah,
we're fearful of it, we're miseducated,
yeah,
and have a misunderstanding about all of it. And again, my guest today, my frat brother, he's also the host of Keto 911 podcast, Daniel Sales the third. And so he's just now elaborating on his experience with COVID-19, as well as his experience as being somebody in the medical field. And also, I would like to add, Honey is a nurse. Yeah, she's one of my former co-hosts, but she's also she's a nurse as well. And she goes on to say, and I'm going to pop this on the screen
yeah,
for everybody who can see it. It says, I still have shortness of breath, walking and difficult without getting winded. Okay, and I
yeah.
believe, Honey, if I'm
That's
not mistaken, Honey, you're watching. She too
mm-hmm.
contracted
Yeah,
COVID-19. So what we would like to know is if you've taken the vaccine. Please let us know in the comments if you've taken the vaccine. And so,
to elaborate on what she's saying,
mhm.
that's COVID still has residual effects on a lot of people. That's not the first time I've heard to where I still have trouble breathing and catching my breath. I get winded easy. One of my college frat brothers, he wound up having it, and he still is still recovering from it months later. I find out now that I get hoarse a whole lot faster, um, than what I used to before. And I did see that she said that she's not taking the vaccine. And let me establish my position and make sure that I'm being clear. I
Mm-hmm.
took the vaccine because of my personal understanding of it, my interactions with people on the daily basis that I have, and not wanting to spread it anymore past me, and put my family at risk. That's mine. I'm not trying to tell anybody that you just need to go get it. You got to get it. You got to get it. You got to get it. No, 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 no. You make the choice on what you want to do with your body. I'm all supportive of that. I don't want to sit up there and tell somebody um, that you just have to do it. No, I'm not going to tell you that. What I want everybody to do is take their time to research it, to read about it, not ask somebody down the street or go to the barbershop and ask them what they think about it and hear them say, no, the government's trying to track you. They're going to put a microchip in you. It's going to change. It's going to change your DNA and all that other stuff. mRNA is the bad stuff. mRNA is called messenger RNA. It's a part of your DNA, so you already have it in you.
Hmm.
mRNA, they use it in the vaccine so that way it helps wake up a part of your DNA to realize that potential viruses coming in, I need to get myself prepared. So it automatically heightens your immune's reaction time so that way it can prepare for what's coming. It's not injecting dead COVID cells into your body like the flu vaccine does. What the flu vaccine does, it injects dead flu cells into your body so that way your body has time to practice on what it's supposed to destroy. So that way, when the flu virus comes in, your body's already prepared because it's already been practicing.
Right. Okay. So she came back and she says, I guess memory is bad words don't come out like I wanted to. She's saying, okay, she's clarifying she have not taken the vaccine yet. So let me give my position as well. Uh, I believe we need to educate ourselves and make a educated choice.
Yeah.
Uh, I've heard it all because this right now is the discussion I know we have in my home, and it should be a discussion that people of color are having in their homes.
Mm-hmm.
Being that again now, people close to us are catching it.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm going to read some of the facts and myths in which we see out there as my bro also give out his information because we want you guys to come away from this having somewhat of a better understanding of what it is that I feel we need to take.
Yeah.
I have not yet taken it, but I have signed up for I have registered to take the vaccine here in uh, locally in Dallas as well in Tarrant County. So whenever they get to me, they're going to get to me. Right now, this is the biggest, most important. How do I want to put it? Outside our other issues as African Americans, this is our biggest issue.
Yeah. It's a huge decision to take, and it shouldn't be taken lightly.
Right, we're catching this faster than anybody else. People of color.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. I would love the answer to that. It does not matter. That's irrelevant. What we do know is that we're getting affected disproportionately against our other white and Latino counterparts.
Let me go a little bit further with that.
Mm-hmm.
We're being affected disproportionately because, and I don't want to be so critical of my people, but our people don't like to follow the rules when it comes to a lot of things. Churches are still going on where I'm seeing people still going to church services. You know, we're still going out doing things, just like everybody else is doing it. I come across more patients that have previously had it about 80 to 90% of the patients that I come across had it at one point, either recently or months ago. Then I come across people who've never had it, and that's disheartening. And when it comes across more of our black people, almost every other black person that I've talked to has had it. And I'm like, well, what are you doing? Well, I'm just, I really didn't think nothing of it and everything like that. And I'm like, we gotta stop that. We gotta really, really, really stop that. Is it so? The things that we're doing, going out, kicking it with folks. Sometimes we're wearing a mask, sometimes we're not. And I made a post where people are wearing a mask inappropriately. And I saw that Miss Mitch said that she was exposed from work from a possible patient or employee, and I'll even go on record saying I got exposed from an employee.
Mm.
We did the contact tracing, and I was like, yeah, it was you. And after and yeah, I was mad when I came across it because I always have my mask on, with the exception of me taking a sip of water or drinking my coffee. And it just so happened that that particular individual was symptomatic and at work, and I just so happened to be passing in that area taking a sip. Because after I had wound up going out, I got my some good friends were like, you know what? As soon as you left, 3 of the other people in your area wound up leaving because they caught it.
You
You
know,
know,
again, we can't reiterate enough that the first step in fighting this is protecting yourself.
yeah,
Um, if you are following me on my social media page, I honestly have been posting day one from the first person who took the trial vaccine, which was a white woman, I believe in Seattle, Washington. I thought,
yeah. I
how,
think I saw that one.
and so, as the old saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink.
Right.
So, I try to put information out there regarding this, regarding the myths to educate ourselves. But if we are not going to take the time to read it for ourselves, and all I tell people, and I said this to my mother Sunday because she stated, hey, I was once against it, but then I was like, you know what, I trust God with other things and me. I said, well, let's leave God out of it because
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
gonna tell you something.
Oh man. Thank
It's,
you.
it's funny how now, listen, I ain't seen so many Negroes using God and all of a sudden
Man.
faith. And I wasn't trying to be disrespectful for my mother. I'd never be disrespectful to my mother, but I was saying it to say, now we want to make God relevant in this situation with the vaccine when we've been trusting him with everything else. We haven't said it. We're not. I don't know too many people who go into their gynecologist and saying, "Well, I trust God that." You see what I'm saying? It's not going to
Right.
lead. You just know I believe that this man or woman is going to do us in the best interest for me as a man, woman, whatever the case may be. You know, as a Christian, see, when I get to start, when folks get to throwing out God, I'm gonna start having questions. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna lie, I'm finna start having questions, and so I say, let's leave God out of it and let's use common sense and science. With that being said,
But you just said blasphemy to Christians, to Baptists and Kojic and all them other folks. When you say logic and science, you about to have lightning strike you.
listen,
Somebody's gonna condemn you to hell and all this other stuff. And
look,
if I could jump in on that part
uh,
when it comes to God, and I'll go on this is I guess it's the first public time that I'm going to say this publicly. I'm not a Christian anymore. I've left that aspect of my life. Um, I hear that, oh well, God's going to protect us, God's going to do this, and I see churches in the midst of this pandemic. If when you come to church, God's going to do that. Okay, look, people, the Bible says or they say in Christianity, faith without works is dead. Not only do you have to have faith, but you got to do the things in the processes to keep yourself protected.
Mm-hmm.
And then somebody else had told me, you know, I'm not worried about it. God's got me. Jesus. I said, do you not realize in the Bible, in the story of Moses, when the plague of death came about to kill the firstborn son of everybody, they told him to put the blood on the top of the door, and they said, "Stay inside, because if you come out, you will surely die." Now, the same God that you were saying that will protect you is the same God that will use you to prove a point.
Come on, man. See, uh,
people got to stop using God as a number one shield and actually do the work to protect yourself. It is selfish to not take the extra precautions and leave it to God to do it for you. You have to do the work.
right.
Social distance, wear your mask all the time, sanitize your hands, sanitize your house. That
Yep.
means clean. That means, I'm serious, every single night when my kiddos go to sleep, I Lysol spray and I wipe down everything, PlayStation controllers, TV remote controls, the couch, chairs, everything. I'm killing everything. Before they go to sleep, I Lysol their room. And we wash the sheets and everything every week. Why? Because we're doing the preventative work. It's a task. It's on. If you the more and more you do it, if you do it, it becomes ritual. You do it enough as a ritual, it becomes habit. Once you
Right.
do it enough as a habit, it becomes a lifestyle. And we have to turn it into a lifestyle. Chris Rock said it best. You want to hide something from black people, put it in a book. Because black people don't read.
Right.
The information is out here. I keep it printed out. I got these are from the FDA. This is from the CDC, the Centers from Disease Control. You have to. There is no excuse why you should not read this. If it's hard for you to understand, call your doctor. That's why they're there. Ask them their medical opinion. Make an educated decision based off of understanding the facts as they are. So that way, when you make that decision is made for you. Don't spread the propaganda and the lies based off of how you feel.
Right.
Because how you feel will get yourself sick and killed or somebody else based off of your feelings.
Right. And not only that, because we're on social media. Every time a new story come out, I see it on mine. Every time a new story come out, something happened. This person died. They took the vaccine, or this person got this reaction. Well, again, see, a couple of things you would know if you read, and especially if you're on my page and if you read.
Mm-hmm.
First and foremost, they already said that, listen, more than likely, you're going to get the effects from the second shot.
Yeah.
Then you might get it from the first, but 9 times out of 10, you're probably going to get the side effects from the second dose. Doesn't mean everybody will, but that's kind of how we're seeing it play out. Again, It is educating yourself to make a sound decision.
Yes.
And here's what I tell people. I have children. My children are not, my son will be 20 in March. He's not an adult yet to me. I want to see my children have children.
Yeah.
I want to live long enough to say, whenever I close my eyes and whenever I get called home, it's cool with me. Now, at the end of the day, it's up to him.
Yeah.
But before I leave here, I want to be okay with the life I've lived. And as I tell people all the time, listen, I'm one of those people that don't mind raising my hand and say, I'm one of those that's, I want to meet Jesus or I want to meet God. As that old saying go, everybody want to go to heaven, but don't nobody want to die. That's me. I will be in the first one in that line. That's me. I say that to say that, if you value the people that you say you value, like you said, your family, your children, your spouse, your mother if they living, if it's your daddy living, whoever you feel is important to you, you're doing it not just for you, you're doing it for them.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
doing it to make sure you're around and you're
Yeah.
protecting yourself when you're around them. And you hope that they're doing the same for you.
Yeah.
Because you say you love me, you go
Show
show up
me.
every way possible
Yeah.
that you do.
Yeah. And when
Uh,
I was feeling the way that I was feeling, and during my quarantine, I'm like, I can't. When I know that they were okay, but yet I was feeling the worst that I was feeling. I thought about not seeing them graduate. I thought about not being able to have that bond with my son, and imagining the grief my wife would have to experience and my children would have to experience because I'm not there. So
mm,
me doing this was trying to do everything that I could so that way I can be there for them in the best health that I could potentially be in going forward. Can you die from? Are there risks with it? Yes, there are risks with it. There are risks with the flu vaccine. People have bad reactions to the flu vaccine. Am I worried about the second one? Yeah, I'm worried about the second one having reactions and everything like that. But I got it. But I'm looking at it from the perspective of what I'm having to do.
right,
It's my family's worth it. But I'm just saying. But this is just me. I've done the research. I asked the questions. From what I don't understand, I ask a doctor who does. So that way, one, I can get the information, and I don't just say, okay, cool, I'm gonna do it. I bring it home. Hey, talk to my wife. Hey, this is what the doctor said. He's taking it first and second doses. This is how he felt. I understand it's different from everybody. What do you think? I want to do it. I want to protect you. My wife is to the point where she's like, she's been ready to go ahead and get it, but in the states that it's in right now, high risk, family members of healthcare workers and healthcare workers. It's not to that point, even though some areas are starting to release it to the general public. And a lot of the times, as soon as it opens up in Tyler, where I'm at, it's already full.
right.
The second that it opens up. But you know what's funny? When I went to go get my shot, guess who was in the waiting room?
Cool.
I was pretty much one out of three black faces in there, full of a room full of not non-black faces.
Mm,
Because those folks is like, oh, I'm not playing around. I don't want to get this. I don't want to feel like this. I'm gonna go ahead and get it. And they show up and they get them get the vaccine. Like I said, it's their decision. But you also have to look at who's showing up. Yeah, and from what the sister's saying, she says every breath that she felt like her last one. And I would say my sister, if you are feeling that way, just go get checked out to be sure. Because I had a good friend of mine recently who battled it, who wound up having a lung infection recently to where he had to go get checked out. It may be something else, sis. The residual effects of it can harm you. I don't want to go too far into deep of how it affected my grandmother that wound up having her perish, but please take care of yourself. Please go get checked out. That's just my recommendation.
right.
From
And like
from
I
one,
said, it's again, we're holding this conversation about the vaccine and we do understand. Let's. I just want to put it out there. We are very educated black men. We're going to read, so we are aware of the history. Let me say it again, so we're clear. Anybody that's watching this, we are not ignorant to the history of how we've been treated from a medical position. We
yeah,
are aware of the Tuskegee experiments and how we're treated and given or misinformation and not giving information. We are aware of all of that. And so I want to say to people who are on the fence, who are saying no, we do understand your fear. However, right now, that faith that y'all talk about, since you want to throw faith out there, your faith is going to have to be larger than your fear. I fear dying from COVID.
yeah,
I'm not fearing the vaccine. I'm fearing not getting my vaccine in time because I mean, for the most part, I am even though I'm a essential worker
Mm-hmm.
because I've never had a day off because of the field that I'm in from transportation and agriculture. I've been to work and I'm out and about all the time. But from the beginning, I've always double layered. For you guys that are just now watching, let's speak on these masks real quick. Those
Oh
look
yeah.
the ones that are not reusable, those blue on the outside, white on the inside. From the beginning, they had already told you, and they're just reiterating, you need to double up. That those masks, and Daniel was in the medical field, those masks are to protect going out. That's why when you seeing a lot of them people with pictures with the face shields, they have that mask on because the shield was to protect everything that's going to be coming in. I'm
Mm-hmm.
protecting what's going out, and the shield is going to protect me from having everything to hit my face. So double up on the mask. You know, the CDC, now it's just being said again, but it was said
Yeah.
from the beginning. But because we don't read, now we got to put a whole
Well,
nother public service
yeah.
announcement out of something that you should have been doing. When
Yeah.
I'm at
Now we got to play catch up.
Yeah, when I'm at work every day, I'm always double up. I'm double up just because now I'm not in people's face, they're not in mine.
Mm-hmm.
However, I am moving in the vicinity of people who might have just spoke and something might be in the air.
Yeah.
And so, if you haven't contracted it, consider yourself, be thankful and lucky that you haven't, and continue to protect yourself. I want to read a couple of things because it was funny when I seen one of the message. So here's one of the myths, and me and Daniel are going to be going back and forth, just disseminating information. So what I'm going to be bringing up are some of the myths that in which we hear. One of the myths, and again, all this information you can look up
Mm-hmm.
from John Hopkins, well-renowned hospital, well-renowned physicians, doctors. They are like the gold standard in information and in all of this. So they compile some myths and facts. Myth: if I've already had COVID-19, I don't need the vaccine. Here's the fact: people who have gotten sick with COVID-19 may still benefit from getting vaccinated due to the severe health risk associated with COVID-19 and the fact that reinfection with COVID-19 is possible. People may be advised to get the COVID-19 vaccine even if they've been sick with the COVID-19 before. Another myth. This is a big one that we see all the time. Researchers rush to develop the development of the COVID-19 vaccine, so its effectiveness and safety can't be trusted. We hear this one all the time. They
Mm-hmm.
rush it. If I post about COVID-19 and vaccines, I got a couple of brothers I know going to comment. But here are the facts behind it. And this is important because what you think in the paper are different. It don't matter what you think, is what the science behind testing says. So here's the fact behind that. Studies found that the two initial vaccines are both about 95% effective and reported no serious or life-threatening side effects. There are many reasons why COVID-19 vaccines could be developed so quickly. Here are just a few. This is important to understand. The COVID-19 vaccine from Pfizer and BioNTech and Moderna were created with a method that has been in development for years. Let me say that
Mm-hmm.
again. So this is not new. They've already been playing. You have to understand they're always playing with stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So when something come around, a lot of times they are using procedures and methods in which they're trying in the first place, and they're just tweaking it to see what works. It goes on to say that you know the method that has been developed for years so the companies could start the vaccine development process earlier in the pandemic. China isolated and shared genetic information about COVID-19 promptly so scientists could start working on the vaccine. Also, the vaccine developer didn't skip any testing steps, but conducted some of the steps on a overlapping schedule to gather data faster. Vaccine projects had plenty of resources as governments invested in research or paid for vaccines in advance. Some types of COVID-19 vaccines were created using messenger RNA, because you mentioned that,
Mm-hmm.
or known as mRNA, which allows a faster approach than the traditional way that vaccines are made. Again, I've
Mm-hmm.
always said on my page, we're trying to use common logic for an uncommon situation.
Yeah.
It's literally, in reading that statement, is what I'm saying. They didn't use common procedure for a uncommon situation.
Right.
It also goes on to say that social media help companies find and engage study volunteers. That means that you probably seen them asking if you having signs, symptoms, we would love for you to volunteer.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it also says, because of COVID-19 is so contagious and widespread, it did not take long to see if the vaccine worked for the study volunteers who were vaccinated. So when people talk about us being the guinea pigs, no. What about the people who lined up
Mm-hmm.
to say, hey, I'm going to be tested? Because we got to remember, they don't know if the shit is going to work or not. They were
Right.
the real guinea pigs. They
Yeah.
were used to come up with the data and find out what worked and what not. That means that the truth is somebody lost their life during the trial process.
Yeah. There was an older gentleman overseas who was well in his, I believe, 80s or so. He volunteered for the clinical trials. And they were like, "Well, aren't you worried about dying?" He says, "Oh, I'll live a long life. If they can learn from me to save more people, then I've done my part." Now that's a selfless act.
Mm,
You don't have too many people that are, willing to risk their life or put their lives on the line for the benefit of millions. But he did that. I haven't followed up to see his status or if he's still living or if he's dead. But um, you had people who were out there doing the clinical trials. You heard it on the radio. Anybody who wanted to go ahead and sign up for the COVID vaccine clinical trials, you call this number, and I think that you get paid for it and all this other stuff like that. But um, it's been going on for a long time, and when it came out, it was almost at its peak. Thanksgiving had happened. We had huge, you know, spreader events that wound up just making the numbers skyrocket, and it came out during the period of fear and desperation, which is what didn't add to the trust
mm-hmm.
of understanding, the virus actually being able to help, you know. So go ahead, keep going, bro. I'm gonna jump back in a minute. Go
Oh
ahead.
no, you good, you good. I mean, again, we want to have this conversation for people that are tuning in. If you're just now tuning in, again, first part of the show, we were talking about the lack of diversity in the NFL when it comes to African American coaches. Now we've shifted to talking about the myths and dispelling the disinformation or the misinformation that is being put out there regarding the vaccine. As we've stated, and we can't reiterate enough that we do understand that people of color are rightful to have fear
Yeah.
of taking the vaccine. However, we also have to look at the data and make wise decisions for us, not just me, not just my guest, but for all of us as a black community in surviving this thing.
Yeah.
And so, again, we're talking about the myths because we want to make this clear because some of these myths we've already seen on social media. And so let's get the facts out there. Here's another one. Because I mean, John Hopkins, they do their due diligence.
Oh yeah, they go in.
Right. So here's another myth. Getting the COVID-19 vaccine gives you COVID-19. Here's the facts. The vaccine from the COVID-19 cannot and will not give you COVID-19. The two authorized are the mRNA vaccines instruct your cells to reproduce a protein that is part of the SARS CoV-2 coronavirus, which helps your body recognize and
Mm-hmm.
fight the virus. If it comes along, it says the COVID-19 vaccine does not contain the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So you cannot get COVID-19 from the vaccine. The protein that helps your immune system recognize and fight the virus does not cause infection of any sort. Again, this comes from study of it. Let's go.
Now, to add to that, there have been some people who have gotten the vaccine, and then all of a sudden it was in the news and social media and stuff like that. Nurse or person who got the vaccine wound up testing positive for COVID. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, it's not working. It's not working. Pause. So here's the thing. Upon initial contact with somebody who's presumptive to have it, the actual virus takes up to 14 days to incubate into your body before you're able to see any symptoms. So it was very, very true, very, very possible that he could have already contracted the virus prior to him getting the vaccine.
Right.
To where by the time he wound up getting the vaccine, boom, he wound up maybe showing symptoms to where, oh, you have COVID. So again, folks, you got to read into the stories just a bit more. And even more so with that one, it doesn't give you COVID, but at the same time, it doesn't protect you from just not wearing a mask and going out there willy-nilly.
Oh, speaking of masks, let's go back to that. I
Let's
didn't
get it.
get that one. Myth. Getting the COVID-19 vaccine means I can stop wearing my mask and taking coronavirus precautions. Fact, individuals who get COVID-19 vaccination still need to practice infection prevention precautions. Keep your mask on and continue staying at least 6 feet from people outside your household until further notice. Vaccines do not stop the coronavirus from entering your body. They only prevent you from developing moderate to severe COVID-19. It's not yet clear if people vaccinated from COVID-19 can still carry and transmit the virus even when they themselves don't get sick. So again, this is just a common sense thing. Just because you got the vaccine, especially if you only got one and you
Yeah.
ain't got seven, common sense say, hopefully let me still protect myself, because again, you are still in that period where you can wind up catching it. Uh,
Yes.
Daniel
Um,
stated that a lot of people that he's seen in the hospital actually had it before.
yeah.
They had
And
already said early.
you can catch it again.
China was the first one that released it and said they, because it started with China.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're already throwing out information. I will say that because I posted this story on my personal social media page. They said what we're noticing is that people who tested negative after going through the coronavirus, we're getting back people who are contracting it again.
Yes. Unfortunately, my grandmother who has recently passed away caught it twice within a month, and she wound up having complications that wound up ending to her untimely demise. And when I'm like, and I've talked to people, and sadly, some providers who are like, "Well, I've already had it, so I got the antibodies. I got the antibodies." That's not a proven thing. You can still catch it again, folks. And now these are doctors. These are doctors. People who see patients who think like that because they're just going by other medical professionals on what they're saying versus
Right,
reading. And I'm serious. It's not just for the low income people on the totem pole. It's those providers as well.
right,
You know, and you have to do the preventative measures. If you get the flu vaccine, it doesn't say go jump into a pool of sick people, because
right.
you're susceptible to getting it.
Yep.
And I'll go even on a funnier imagery route. Just because you get a vasectomy doesn't mean you ain't gonna stop having kids a week later. No, you gotta wait a
Right.
while before it takes effect. So
Yeah.
it's the same thing. You have to do the responsible acts. Even after you get your second, even after I get my second one, look, I don't go nowhere. Okay? before I even, sadly, before COVID even hit, I didn't go nowhere. But even more so, I don't. The only place where I go to is the store and
Right.
home, or to run an errand and come home. And usually, half the time, as bad as it's been getting with the numbers out here in East Texas, I tell my wife, "You just send me the list. I'd rather not have to worry about you and the kids being out here. I'll go get it."
You know what? Speaking of that, let me do a plug. It ain't like they paying me, but let me plug some.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Even now, there are so many. Online shopping has went up tremendously. One service that I use is Amazon Fresh. You know why? Because of what I'm trying to do is limit myself in the grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
And so I order my groceries from Amazon. I might need to go to the store if I forget something.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I forget something ordering.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
very seldom, but it might be a situation like last weekend. My daughter wanted uh, some seafood. Well, of course, naturally, when I order through Amazon Fresh, I'm not buying seafood. Okay, let me go on and jump in there. Let me go in, but I'm masked up.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm doubled up. I mean, of course, we already spread out. I'm in. This is what I need. Thank you, fam. Let me go and go to this cash register, self checkout, because I ain't got nothing but a couple items in my hand. Bam, and I'm out. I keep wipes in my car and my truck.
Oh yeah.
Let me
I
go
got
and
it.
wipe my hands off. And so we have to, again, can't stress enough, be mindful. Take this thing seriously. Again, we see people at parties. I see videos of folks at the club.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling myself, and I'm gonna be honest, because I'm still gonna talk my shit. And I'm not gonna lie, the first thing I thought of, especially when I see the women who are unprotected, and I'm gonna give you my honest assessment when I see it. I say to myself, y'all the same chicks that will have no problem with a man having sex with you unprotected. Because that's what I see when I see people. Like who are wearing a mask,
Oh man, that
mouth down.
look, man,
You
that
know,
is
you're not protecting your nose, or I don't want to wear no mask. I'm being forced. I think it's control. And I'm saying to myself, I wonder, do you keep that same mindset with sex? Because we still got AIDS. We still got sexual transmitted diseases. And I got a colorful imagination when I see stuff. And so that's the first thing I'm thinking. Like, y'all out here, if y'all have a problem, no problem being willy nilly and loose with this pandemic, I can just only imagine how y'all are in different situations, how loose you are. I'm going to read another myth and then I'm going to let you speak on it.
got you.
Myth: the COVID vaccine was developed with or contained controversial substances. The first two COVID 19 vaccines to be authorized by the FDA contain mRNA and other normal vaccine ingredients such as fats, salts, as well as small amount of sugar. These COVID-19 vaccines were not developed using fetal tissue, and they do not contain any materials such as implants, microchips, or
Mm-hmm.
tracking devices. Here's another myth that I ran across that I really want to talk about. Um, Myth: COVID-19 vaccines enters your cells and changes your DNA. I've heard that one. We see
Oh
how
yeah.
fact. The two COVID-19 vaccines available to us, are designed to help your body's immune system fight the coronavirus. The messenger RNA from two of the first type of COVID-19 vaccines does enter cells, but not the nucleus of the cells where DNA reside.
Right.
The the mRNA does its job to cause the cell to make protein to stimulate the immune system, and then it quickly breaks down without affecting your DNA. Any thoughts? What you got to say on that?
Oh yeah. Okay. So when it comes to injecting microchips or anything like that, if you're worried about Big Brother tracking you, then you should go ahead and destroy your phone.
Right.
because the government has access to look up your search history and anything like that at any given time. If you're worried about a microchip now in your arm, then you should throw away your phone. If you got a smart TV, throw that away. If you got a Google Home or Alexa in your house, you might as well burn that. You know what I'm saying? The government has complete access to you whether you think so or not. And if you were in the United States military, hello, the government already got you.
Right. Listen,
So
you need to delete your social media. Matter of fact, you need to get out this live
just
right
get
now.
out this live, because guess what? Guess who's already watching? So that's a moot subject. It's gonna change your DNA. We've already broken that down. They already think Freemasons got alien DNA as it is, and I ain't heard nothing about that as is. And then they were like, change the DNA, and then I'm Freemason. I already got alien. So outside of that joke, and then they're like, well, we don't know the ingredients. Go to Google Moderna vaccine ingredients, Pfizer vaccine ingredients. It will take you to the FDA, and it will give you a page. On page 2, what are the
Mm,
ingredients in the Pfizer BioNTech COVID vaccine? And it includes the following ingredients. First, mRNA lipids. A whole bunch of scientific things that I'm not going to break my neck on trying to pronounce, even though I'm good with that. Polyethylene glycol, which is in most foods as is. Phosphocholine, cholesterol, potassium chloride, monobasic potassium phosphate, sodium chloride, which is salt, dibasic sodium phosphate, dihydrate, and sucrose, which is a sugar derivative. Now, guess what? I just read it to you. You're worried about what's in it because you don't know. You can Google it, but I bet you didn't even check the ingredient labels when you go to McDonald's. I bet you don't check the ingredient labels when you get
right.
processed foods. And them things in there are meant to kill you.
Come on. See, there you
You
go.
got we got to do better than, oh, I don't know what's in it, so I'm not gonna touch it. Okay, cool. Well, stop eating McDonald's. Because you don't know all what's in there.
That's right. That's
Stop
right.
eating processed foods because you don't know what's in there. You can't be selective on this when you don't take the opportunity to engage and learn.
Yep.
What's the worst thing that can happen? You make a decision not to do it. But guess what? It's an informed decision.
Right.
Well, I've
Right.
heard people that read it. Okay, did they say that they read it or did they read it? Well, they said they read it. Okay, cool. I had this conversation with my dad. I'm like, have you read it? Yeah, I read it. Okay, cool. Tell me something about it. No, you ain't read it.
Right.
Now, don't just say it. Just be saying it. I'll go this further for the Christian friends that I have. Do you believe everything in the Bible or did you read it?
Whoa. See, there you go.
Do you just believe in God because somebody told you to believe in God, or did you take the time out to read the Bible yourself to understand it?
Right.
Because there's a whole bunch of people who don't read but just follow.
Yeah. I listen to my pastor though. You know, I go on Sunday.
Yeah,
You know,
but that's
I watch them live.
yeah, but that's the practice. But that's the practice. You can't sit up here and tell somebody about God and what He's done and everything like that if you can't quote the Bible, if you can't tell them about the scriptures, if you can't do this. We're giving you the information, as the Christians say, book, chapter, and verse, websites, pages. You just got to go do the research.
Right.
If
Yeah.
you go, if you buy a house, you're gonna read that paperwork. You just ain't gonna throw out money.
See, not at all. And again, hold on, Daniel, for those that are just now watching again, to get you caught up. Again, first half of the show, if you missed it, we were discussing the lack of diversity in the NFL when it comes to head coaches, black head coaches. Now we're just dispelling the myth and just having an overall conversation about the coronavirus vaccine. We believe, that it is in your best interest to take it. This is not about you, but the people around you. If you say, and I'm speaking from me to people who are watching, if you say you love your loved ones, just make a informed decision. Now, if you choose not to, because we can't make you do nothing.
No.
If you choose not to, cool. What we're saying is, let's not make ignorant ass decisions based off misinformation. I don't want to take it because I now believe God got me. So
God'll have you all right. He sure will.
Again, I'm just tired of hearing God got me. We've been losing. Man, listen, let me not go there because people don't understand how God really. Fuck it, we got to go there.
Saying God got you is not an excuse to be ignorant.
Right. Okay, there you go. It's not an excuse to be ignorant. It's not an excuse to say, let me not do what's in the best interest. Because watch this, and I said it before. If your child break his arm, or you go take him to the doctor, or you go say, God got him. Hell no, you go take him to the doctor. Because for sure that doctor can mend his broken arm, his feet, or whatever. When you need to have surgery after being diagnosed with something, or you staying at home and saying, you know what, well, I got surgery after being diagnosed with something, or you staying at home and saying, you know what, well, I got me.
Sadly, there are people who do that.
You know what?
There are some people that do that.
You're right.
But even more so for those who are Christians, the Bible says, study thyself approved, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Bible itself tells you that you need to read.
Right.
So I'm like, you can't give yourself the crutch of your faith as an excuse to not do what's morally responsible for yourself. And it's not taking the virus just because we say it's doing what you need to do to be well informed, to make a sound decision based off of evidence and facts. The previous administration did not operate on that at all.
Right.
And now you have the opportunity. Dr. Fauci's been out there. That man's been smiling. That man's been giving press briefings. That man has been dumping information every minute that he can. Things that changes, studies that changes, new recommendations he's sent up there because science and medicine constantly changes. He's trying to keep people ahead of the curve versus playing catch up. Because now we're in the area of playing catch up. He's trying to catch us up fast. So we're obligated to give the information out. You do with it what you will. But you can't say. But what we're doing is giving you the information, so that way you can't say nobody tried to tell you.
Right. Yeah. And man, listen, I say that all the time. What will never be said is that you can't say you didn't know. No, you chose. You chose
not to know.
Because we've done our due diligence in just holding the intelligent conversation about it and throwing out a couple of things that we see all the time. And before we wrap it up, I'm gonna give out another myth, and for you guys, because again, there's a list, and our whole point is that there are myths and studies and data as we continue to reiterate that you yourself can pull up. Prior to this show, I got to do work to find out what I want to talk about, and guess what? There's nothing to be ashamed of that you Googled something. You just need to know where to find the right information while you're Googling it. So before I give my last myth and fact, everything that I'm reading from is from a simple Google COVID-19 vaccines myth versus fact. And you're going to come up against that article from hopkinsmedicine.org. You can go to hopkinsmedicine.org to find out all the information that you would need to find out about everything that they're studying, because they're continually pumping out information.
Yep.
The CDC is another website, because I believe Daniel pulled his information from the CDC. And so this is stuff that you yourself can look, instead of saying, you know what, I'm gonna be blind to it and just give it away. Let me tell you something. I'm gonna read this that I didn't put up on the screen, and if I did, for you guys that didn't see, shout out to my girl, honey. I wish you nothing but the best, and I'm going to reach out to her. But this is what she posted, and this is how serious it is, and I want you guys to take this shit serious. If you are watching right now, I just posted on the screen. Shelly says, I had to resign from my profession yesterday due to complications.
And sis, I'm sorry to hear that. You know, prayers go out to you. I hope that you are able to go ahead and get the treatment and follow up that you need, so that way you can continue to improve in your health. It's no joke. This is something, from what she's saying, which is tragic. It's happening all over the place.
Let's
This
think
is
about it.
this is every day.
This young lady just said, she's a long time nurse.
Yeah,
I know she has children, a family that she got to take care of,
yeah,
bills that need to be paid.
yeah.
She said, I had to resign from my profession yesterday due to complications. Now, what if the president, the dodo that just left out, was more proactive from the beginning? She might be okay.
And then even more so, the right measures for her financially will be in place to help support her and to give her to, so that way one, she can continue to take care of her family even due to the situation. But again, that's the face. The face. The face. I got to keep tying it back in. That's the face that doesn't care about the bottom line.
You're right about that. I'm going to give my last myth, man, as we close out this show. You know, again, I hope that everything that we talked about, you definitely enjoyed, but it was information that you can use. You can go back again, you know, do the research yourself. I always tell people, you know, don't listen to what I say, research what I say.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. Damn, I'm going to make that a shirt. Don't do what I say. Don't listen to what I say, research what I say. And here's the last myth, because again, I'm just picking out the ones that I have seen on a regular common basis on my personal social media page. Myth: now that we have a vaccine for COVID-19, we can make vaccines for the common cold, HIV, and other diseases. I've seen people talk about this shit in one part of a conversation or another. Here's the fact behind it. The thousands of viruses that cause various diseases are very different. Let me say that again. The thousands of viruses that cause various diseases are very different. Many change, mutate year by year, making it difficult to develop one vaccine that works for a long period of time. Developing vaccines for some diseases, disease-causing viruses, is tough. For example, the virus that causes HIV can hide and make itself undetectable by the human immune system, which makes creating a vaccine for it extremely difficult.
Mm-hmm.
The common cold can be caused by any one hundreds of different viruses. So a vaccine for just one of them would not be very effective. So again, it goes back to what I said. We continue to try to use our common logic
Mm-hmm.
to a uncommon situation, because I've seen on my feed in their argument to say these very things in which we are dispelling. Oh, well, you know, they created it too fast. It normally takes 5 or 6 years. Well, the truth is that a lot of these techniques have been in the work for decades.
Yeah. You
They're
think
not
that they don't take breaks in between pandemics?
right. It ain't like, oh, right, man. Listen, that's why I'm glad I have you on the show. Right, like they say, you know what?
You know, we can just take a break. There's nothing to research right here.
Never
We're
got
good.
to
No,
let's get back to work.
I'm like, viruses are constantly mutating, and these scientists are constantly combating and finding new ways to handle new things. The flu virus has gotten to the point to before COVID even hit. The flu virus was mutated to the point where the flu vaccines were not effective anymore. This was just prior to COVID hitting.
Matter of fact, 2 years ago, speaking of that, because you can Google it, what happened is I believe it was on a Navy ship or whatever that they found out that the flu shot that they were giving was not effective. They had to admit that it was not, because again, stuff is ever changing. You know, what was working right then, and even with listen, you really don't know, because we keep on throwing up the flu shot. You really don't know if they tweaked it. They ain't even telling you. You just know you get it if you're gonna take it.
Yeah,
Now, me,
you're gonna take
I've
them.
never watch this. I've never taken the vaccine. I've never taken the flu vaccine because why? I do not get sick. Rarely. First of all, because I'm always busy. I try to eat well, healthy, but I'm continually doing something. I'm always continuing to make sure that my immune system, which I've said from the beginning, again, if you follow me, protect your immune system if nothing else. Yes, cleaning up is cool, but protect your immune system. Again, take the precautions you need to take. Be careful. As I tell people, there's absolutely nothing going on right now when the weekend comes that I want to get into. Nothing. What am I missing when I get off work? Unless, like you said, I need to take care of some business, but I'm back home. If I got to run to the grocery store, if I got to do that, I'm coming back home.
Yeah,
I am not out and about
just lingering.
purposely exposing myself
Yeah,
to the potential of catching the virus.
yeah,
Now, I might have it and be asymptomatic. Well, damn it, guess what?
that
I'm
part.
thankful I ain't showing no signs because that might be the case too, because we do know there are
Yeah,
people who are asymptomatic. But
yep.
again, it's still me being mindful. I don't know if I got it or not, but I know my ass don't need to be out in the back.
Right.
So let me do what I need to do. Again, thinking about others. Let me come back. Let me be cool. I'm more concerned about my children because I have nurses. For you guys that don't know, I have a special needs son. I have nurses that take care of him. Well, my son don't go nowhere without me, so he don't leave the house. But I know
Right.
I got traffic that's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, y'all ass need to wear a mask.
Yeah.
My daughter now she go stay in her
Mm-hmm.
room. She got school. She knows your ass need to wear a mask. You need to make sure you protect it because as long as this pandemic continues, we're going to see more and more people close to us become affected. So we got to do what we got to do to protect ourselves. Before we get out of here, Daniel, you got the last word. Talk to us.
Man, look, the information is out there for you to research. Do the due diligence. Take the time that you have. Even if it's late at night, take the time to read it. If you don't understand it, talk to a healthcare provider to make sense of it. They are there to answer those questions. Your primary care physician is there to answer questions about it. That's what they're there for. They have the degrees, they understand the science behind it, and they're there to give you a educated understanding of it. You can ask them, well, do you recommend it? You may have underlying health issues that you're concerned with. It's always great to consult the primary care physician so that way, one, you don't put yourself in an unnecessary harm by doing it. But also, still, people, wear your masks, social distance, wash your hands, obey all precautions, regardless on what state legislature, whatever, Governor Abbott, Gomer, whatever idiots are trying to tell you otherwise. Those folks, I'm gonna tell you something about that. Those folks live privately. They're not around you. They're not around people like you are. They don't live the lives that you live, or they live well off. So if they miss a day of work, they still got money coming in.
Yes, they do.
You have to think about you, your situation, and make the best decision, the best informed decision that you possibly can. And on that shirt, bro, don't listen to what I say, research what I say. You need to put a square and compass on that because a lot of brothers need to do that too. But I ain't gonna go that far into that.
Look at you. You crazy.
Stop believing what everybody hear and read for yourself. I'm sorry, I threw that. I slipped that one in there. Last shout out. I want to shout out to my Facebook brothers. We got a group called the Water Buffaloes. It's a mixture of Prince Hall brothers and Grand Lodge State brothers, and we're good. And when the weather gets cold, my boy James Scott, you know him,
Yeah.
he blames it on me. He goes online, he blames the weather on me because he proclaimed me the grand meteorologist. So for some reason, when the weather gets bad, it's my fault. So shout out to them. Shout out to my family, my co-workers, everybody, man. Shout out to you, also, my brother. Thank you for the opportunity to come and be able to give some clarity, some information out to the masses. Also, check out my podcast on the Keto 911 podcast on every streaming site: Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, wherever that you can find it. If it's not there, ask for it to be there. I got great content. I got more people coming on. Not only do I talk about keto from all these businessmen, but I'm going to be getting doctors on my podcast so that way you can hear the science behind it, some pain specialists, so that way they can go ahead and give you some science behind why a healthy life is good. Like I told you, don't, like he said, don't believe me. And I say it on my episodes. Don't believe me when what I say. Research it.
That's
Thanks,
right.
bro.
Oh yeah, listen, before I get out of here, let me give a shout out to a longtime friend of mine, classmate of mine. For you guys that are looking, I know y'all probably like, that's a unique T-shirt. And so goes by the name, a brother by the name of Keith Allison. And he has a coffee company called
Oh,
Coffee Heads that will be coming to a town, hood, city near you. Again, black owned. Um, I've been knowing this brother from Pop Warner all the way through school. And so, again, I'm proud to see this brother making headway, again, creating a lane in which, very few of us in, which is the coffee business. And so I had to
yeah.
represent for him today. And so what's so dope about his t-shirts is that this design is like one of 10. And so if you purchase one of his shirts, you can actually choose like the facial expression. So this is my petty, you know, facial expression. So I mean he got
Yeah.
different type of expressions on it. And so this is his logo, which is coffee heads. And so this is my personal look because I'm also a coffee drinker as well. So again, I want you guys to
Yeah.
go to social media. You can
Yes.
find them on
Yes.
Facebook, Coffee Heads with a Z at the end. A good brother of mine who I just think you guys should support. I definitely be, pushing it out there once he gets everything released because I can't wait to get my bag of coffee. We talked today. I'm like,
Hey man, I need some too.
hey, gotcha. Listen, I got you because I know you drink coffee as well. Um, please make
Yes,
sure you go
sir.
to our social media pages. You can go to Facebook, The Petty Crew, Instagram, The Petty Crew, Twitter, at The Petty Crew One. Um, please go to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to build that just as big as I have built up the Facebook page. I'm trying to get about 5,000 subscribers on there. Right now I'm at 50. This show will be um, broadcast again. We will be going live tomorrow as well. So you'll get to see this same conversation, but just at different times for you guys that have missed uh, this show. Please again share this. A lot of good information that was giving conversation in which you find yourself might want to come in on. Thank everybody who was chiming in. Um, Shelly, aka Honey, my former co-host. I will be reaching out to you as well to make sure you're okay. I'm sorry to hear that you have to resign. People, this virus is real. This pandemic is real, regardless of what your mind thinks. People are losing their lives. People are losing their jobs. You know, and at the end of the day, we want you guys to make a educated decision on taking the vaccine. We can't make you take it. What we can do is give our thoughts and give out the information we want to present to you to make a sound decision. With that being said, man, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. And until next Wednesday, we'll have a new topic, whole new conversation. As I always say to all my guests, you're more than welcome to join me next Wednesday. Whatever it is we're talking about, you're more than welcome to come on. Also, the Petty Crew Radio Show, just let me know. It's much love. Again, let me plug the show. We will not be doing the Petty Crew Radio Show this Sunday for you guys that know this is Valentine's weekend. We will not be doing the show. We want
Yeah.
to spend time with your loved ones. Love is in the air, be it marriages, relationships, friendships, or whatever. That's the time for you to celebrate those relationships and love you have for the people that are in your life. With that being said, thank you. And until next time, we are out.